Hello everyone and welcome to the final edition of our Greater Vancouver Market Update for 2023. It's been a pleasure making these videos for you and we're looking forward to bringing you more unspun, unbiased analysis of the Greater Vancouver housing market in 2024. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button down below so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And if you're enjoying this content on one of the other platforms, please give us a like, drop us a comment down below. We would love to hear from you. All right, the market continued to soften through the month of November with sales numbers well below what we're used to seeing at this time of year. But we're also not seeing the influx of inventory that many market bears have predicted would come. To break it all down, let's take a closer look at the numbers. Let's start by taking a look at the sales numbers, which registered at 1,702 total sales throughout the region. This is a 14.7% drop from the month of October, but the stat that really sticks out is that it's also 33% below the 10-year average for the month of November. So that's a really good measuring stick for the level of activity out there right now in the market. But inventory, for the most part, has held fairly steady, with a total of 10,931 listings for November, which represents a 5.8% decrease from the previous month. But what's interesting to me, and what I alluded to off the top, is that new listings are 2.8% below the 10-year average, which means that we're not seeing this big increase of inventory that many people who predicted a major market downturn were saying we'd get. Our months of inventory is up, there's no doubt, as it comes in at 6.4 MOI, breaking that threshold of 6 that is often associated with buyer's market territory. But because we're not seeing a ton of new listings, the market just feels a bit stale rather than panicky or super advantageous for buyers. But nonetheless, whenever you're in the 6+ months of inventory range, buyers do have leverage, which ultimately results in softening of prices, with the home price index dropping a full percentage point this past month to a price of 1.185 million. But you can see that we're still higher than where we were at the beginning of the year, thanks to the surge in prices this past spring. And this surge is what ultimately forced the Bank of Canada to raise interest rates again in June and July, which in turn completely cooled off the market. It's pretty amazing to see the direct correlation between rates and prices over the last 11 months. Steady rates and messaging from the Bank of Canada that rates would hold after 8 consecutive rate hikes, and prices go up. Back-to-back rate increases in back-to-back months in June and July, and prices level off and begin to dip. It doesn't get much more direct than that. But those are just the numbers. Next, let's take a look at what's happening out in the field in our editorial segment, Boots on the Ground.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do.
It's definitely an interesting time right now in the market. As I covered in the stats portion of the update, there's no sugarcoating the fact that sales volume is down pretty significantly, at 33% below what we are used to seeing at this time of year. Having said that, sales volume has been running aground pretty much since July, so it's not like it just suddenly fell off a cliff. But ever since those back-to-back rate hikes by the Bank of Canada in June and July, when the wind was really taken out of the sails in the market, there has been growing sentiment among the real estate bears that this is finally it, that the market will finally see a major adjustment in prices. And the reasoning behind that thinking was that this most recent 50 basis point increase in rates would push homeowners over the edge and cause a flood of new listings to hit the market, causing prices to tumble. Well, there's no doubt about the fact that activity has slowed, but we certainly haven't seen the spike in inventory that would cause a sudden downturn in prices. As I previously mentioned, in fact, new listings in November were 2.8% below the 10-year average for the month. That's hardly a flood of new inventory. Now, our months of inventory has crested over that 6 MOI threshold, which certainly signifies a softer buyer's market. And for those who aren't too familiar with how months of inventory works, it's basically the absorption rate in the market. It's calculated by taking the total number of listings and dividing it by the total number of sales in a given month. Meaning, How many months would it take to eat up all of the existing listings if no new inventory were to come on the market? And that number tells us whether we are in a buyer's, seller's, or balanced market. A seller's market is generally anything under 4 months of inventory. A balanced market is anywhere between 4 to 6 MOI. And a buyer's market is generally anything over 6 months of inventory. So although we are clearly sitting in a buyer's market, from what we are seeing with our sellers and the buyers we're working with, the sky is certainly not falling. We've been able to clear out all of our listings to finish off the year, for example. Our buyers who have purchased in recent months are definitely getting good deals, no doubt. But there certainly isn't a feeling that the market is flooded with great options where they can pick and choose and really grind down the price in negotiations. In fact, from talking to many other high volume agents in our office, the general feeling is that there's really no good inventory out there right now. So to me, that speaks of two things. Number one, sellers are holding strong with pricing for the most part and still believe that better days are not far ahead. And two, that many of the homes we are seeing on the market are rental properties, which typically means that they simply don't show as well as an owner-occupied home where the seller has a vested interest in making the property as presentable and easy to show as possible. And on top of that, bond yields have been dropping in recent days, which directly correlates to fixed mortgage rates. Because of this, many bankers in the last week or two have come out pricing in and predicting 3 rate cuts of 25 basis points over the next 12 months. This, of course, has gotten the real estate bulls flooding their social media channels with celebrations and predictions of glory in 2024. But wait, what about TIFF? Did anyone ask the governor of the Bank of Canada what he thought? Well, just a couple of days ago on December 15th, Tiff Macklem delivered his final address of the year to the Canadian club Toronto, and he had some pretty interesting things to say about all this talk of rates dropping in the next 12 months. I quote, "Looking ahead, I expect 2024 to be a year of transition. The effects of past interest rate increases will continue to work through the economy, restraining spending and limiting growth and employment. Unfortunately, this is what's needed to take the remaining steam out of inflation. But this period of weakness will pave the way to a more balanced economy. We expect growth in jobs to be picking up later next year, and inflation will be getting close to the 2% target. And once Governing Council is assured that we are clearly on a path back to price stability, we will be considering whether and when we can lower our policy interest rate. I know it's tempting to rush ahead to that discussion, but it's still too early to consider cutting our policy rate. Until we see evidence that we are clearly on a path back to 2% inflation, I expect Governing Council will continue to debate whether monetary policy is restrictive enough and how long it needs to remain restrictive to restore price stability. In a world with increased macroeconomic volatility, we are also conscious that we may need to be nimble and we should be humble about our forecast." He went on to say, "With the cost of living still increasing too quickly and with growth subdued, the next 2 to 3 quarters will be difficult for many. Consumers will continue to hold back spending, businesses will see weak demand, and employment will probably grow more slowly than the labor force." End quote. Look, I always say nobody has a crystal ball, but the man in charge certainly doesn't sound like he's expecting rates to drop until at least Q3 of next year. So for now, I would temper expectations of rates going down this spring. The prudent thing to do, in my opinion, would be to expect things to remain pretty tight in the economy over the next year, with a rebalancing coming late next year or early 2025. All right, that's it for me for this year. I want to take this opportunity to wish you and your loved ones a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and much health, prosperity, and happiness in the new year. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you in 2024. Bye-bye for now.